I'm going to take you back to Rio in 1989. Rio was always a place where all the F1 teams used to go for winter testing. Goodyear used to run a lot of tyre tests there, and it's always the best place to go for warm weather testing before the start of the season. Very often the teams would go for the whole of March. Sorry, not the whole of March, the whole of January. Come back home and then head back out there for the race in March. This one particular year in '89, we'd gone over there with the Leighton House team, and it was decided that we were going to run our 1988 car because it was always difficult to try and get a new car ready to run in Rio. It's a long way from home, and it was always seemed better to run a known quantity as far as the car was concerned. Always loads of fun to be had in Rio. It's a fabulous place. Lots of nightlife, lots of fun and games, lots of nonsense, really. I think I've explained in one or two of the videos before some of the crazy things we used to get up to. Very often revolved around hire cars. And what should we say? We always saw them as a victimless crime, which was nobody was really going to get hurt. But, we did play hell with these hire cars at times. But the mode of transport in Rio was normally a Volkswagen Combi. They were obviously about a 12-seater minibus, and we'd have 3 or 4 of those per team. And we would see what we could do to basically destroy those things in pretty short time. The vehicles then, especially those Volkswagens, they ran on a fuel that was called Alcool, which was a sugarcane-based fuel that smelt absolutely sickly. And it was, it wasn't very pleasant at all. But what we found we could do with those things was pretty well blow the exhausts off the engines. And the way that we did that was there's lots and lots of tunnels on the road to Rio, between, where the circuit was and into the city. And we'd go through these tunnels. And what you used to have to do was turn the ignition off as you were coasting through the tunnel, and then put your foot on the accelerator to fill the carburetors up with fuel, turn the ignition on pretty quickly, and then floor it. And what you would get was an enormous explosion out the back of the exhaust. And very often we ended up, because obviously the engines are in the back of these things, we ended up blowing the exhaust absolutely to smithereens. And so the vans were sounding even worse with no exhaust on them as they were before. You all know what an old Volkswagen sounds like. But yeah, and then another little gag that somebody played was on one of the other teams. We got hold of the keys, or, well, maybe not got hold of the keys, but probably broke into the thing of one of the other teams, and I think it was the Ligier team. And essentially, overnight, unbolted all of the seats out of this Volkswagen Combi and then mounted them to the roof of the van. So the teams came out to go to work in the morning, and this van, this Combi, was parked up in the car park in the hotel, in the corner of the car park, with all its seats bolted to the roof of the van. And you can imagine all the faces of everybody concerned. So that was a bit of fun. Absolute wanton vandalism and childish, but we enjoyed it. It sort of made the time pass quickly. It was very hot out there, and we got bored easily. So that was one of the things that we got up to. Mauricio qualified 12th for the race, as I recall, and, pretty pretty uneventful race, but it was also the first race for Nigel Mansell with Ferrari, and he'd had a terrible sort of weekend. I think lots of problems with the car, so he wasn't particularly hopeful of getting a reasonable result there. In fact, I think that he told his pilot to essentially warm the plane up because they'd be on an early takeoff out of Rio Airport. But in the end, Mauricio drove well and actually got his only Formula One podium. We finished in third place, which was absolutely fantastic results for us. And on the podium at the end of the race, Nigel had won, and Alan Prost came second and Mauricio third. And one of the funny things that we saw on there, or I certainly saw, because we all rushed to the podium ceremony to see our guy get his trophy. Nigel had the particular trophy this time was, and I'll see if I can find a picture of this. It was quite an ornate silver thing, and it got very, very sharp edges on it. And Nigel, as he held the trophy up, he obviously cut his hand on one of these sharp edges, and the blood was running down his hand and on his wrist. Nigel, being what he was, he made a bit of a song and dance about it. And I vividly remember Mauricio looking at Prost behind Nigel's back and basically giving him the universal W sign. And I don't think that was ever caught on any TV cameras or anything like that, but it was a funny moment. But yeah, third place in Rio, fabulous. We went on from there to we came back home after that and started work on the 89 car, which we were obviously going to go and try and get out at the next race. And I'll see if I can find some stories for that one for you next time.